Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me this morning from Unity of Blairsville, live stream from my home. So I thank you all for being here, taking the time to choose this moment right now with all the others that are here with us today, for us to be so blessed to have the opportunity to live stream and to access the technology in a very positive way, that we can all be connected and recognize what we already know to be true somewhere inside of us is the oneness, the interconnectedness of all of life. And we can celebrate that today. We can appreciate that as we all gather together and co-create this experience with one another today. So I thank you so much for being here. It's a beautiful Sunday morning as I look out my window at the sun that's been up for quite some time, and I know that because I've been up with it. And the trees, the flowers, everything is truly an affirmation of life itself. And even as I say that, in the midst of all of that out there, nature is one of the most powerful ways that we can begin to notice what is always around us, because it is also within us. And it is that stillness, it is the quiet, it is that ineffable experience that we have of ourselves when we are still and know that I am. So I thank you so much again for joining me this morning. And I wanted to open the service, as you may have noticed, for those of you that were here at the beginning and perhaps a few minutes before. I wanted to set the intention today through sound waves. I'm also a sound therapist, or many hats that I wear. So I wanted to bring that energy, that vibration, that experience to all of you today, because my intention for this talk today is to share some things with you, certainly about what stillness is all about, remembering the truth of who we are, and some practices that can help you with that. But more than anything, my intention this morning is for you to have an experiential moment with myself and everyone who is part of this today, that we can begin to sense and notice the difference of the embodiment of that energy, of that essence, of the I am, that it truly is ineffable. There are no words to describe it. It's like if somebody said, well, tell me about God or the divine or life. How would you describe it? One of my favorite words is ineffable. So you may hear me say that a number of times because there truly are no words. But as human beings in this body, that's how we communicate. So, but remembering that we are much more than that, that this is not who we are, this is not what we are, that we are truly that divine expression of life itself. And so that's what's brought us all here this morning. And you may have already noticed, how could you not, right? The backdrop behind me. This is one of my favorite places to be, is in the woods, in the forest, if you will. And there's that wonderful quote by John Muir that says, "Into the forest I go to lose my mind and find my soul." And so that's what I invite you to do with me this morning, right here and now, as we begin to settle into this moment of now and to access all that is available to nourish us, to energize us, to remind us that we are more powerful than we ever really know and realize, because we truly are that divine expression. So just breathe that in with me right now. Just breathe that in. And just feel that breath. Just breathe it into your belly. And then on the exhale, just allow your breath to easily move out, just as the ebb and flow of life of the ocean, the waves move in, the waves move out. And our breath is very much like that same energy. It moves in as we inhale, and on the exhale, we just let it go. And just notice where you are sitting right now, however you showed up this morning in your home, wherever you are. Just be in that place right now. To feel into it. Peace, be still, and know that I am. However you defined God. What's most important is your relationship with the God, the source, the creator, the higher power of your understanding. And when you are aligned with that and it resonates with you, then accessing stillness, because stillness is already in you. That's your nature. So accessing it kind of happens by default, and you're not having to try to find a place of stillness. You're not having to seek it anywhere out there. You begin to, as we did a moment ago, you begin to breathe, and your physical body begins to relax, and you begin to open as the flow of life, the flow of blood through your amazing body, all the chemicals and hormones and everything that your body produces, everything comes online so that you can have the most divine experience of all that you are. So thank you again for being here this morning. I invite you to, if you're ever in the mountains in North Georgia, to visit Unity of Blairsville. It's a wonderful spiritual community, and I am delighted that you are here. In fact, I'm used to speaking to an audience. I just want to throw that in rather than looking at this camera that's sitting here on top of my laptop. And so I'm imagining that I'm looking at all of you out there and your amazing, beautiful faces of the divine looking back at me. And that kind of helps me to connect with you. So just imagine yourself being somewhere right now that offers you an experience that's serene, it's peaceful, calming, loving, gentle, nurturing. Just imagine all of those things. Because right now, as you already know, on this journey that we are all on, individually and collectively, we are experiencing something in the world out there that is unlike anything we've ever known before. And I'm sure if you were in the audience right now, I would be seeing a lot of heads nodding back at me to acknowledge that. And so we're each having our own reactions, our responses to different things that are happening. And oftentimes we might just be standing in that place of total confusion, feeling lost, not knowing what to do from one moment to the next. And that's part of the human experience. As a spiritual being, as a soul, as an essence, part of that human experience is having those kinds of moments. That's when we are the embodiment of it, and we're going to feel it. We're going to feel it physically. We're going to feel, sometimes perhaps anxiety or overwhelm or whatever that may be. That's part of the human experience. But what is so important to remember is that you have the ability already within you to shift those moments, to be with them. When they happen, actually, what I encourage my clients to do is to lean into those moments of discomfort. It's getting our attention and we know that something is happening. So we lean into that. We lean into it with curiosity. We lean into it and know that something is offering itself to me right now for me to be present with, and to know that I am not alone ever. Because there's a lot of, we've been, isolation, sheltering in place, being together by staying apart, all of the words that we've been hearing bandied about. And now things are opening up and people are wanting to come together and everybody's doing it differently. So there's a lot going on. And, guys, there always has been something going on in life, right? But now it's showing up like this. And as difficult and a heart experience for me, for the sadness and the grieving for all the loss of life. And my heart goes out to all of the families and loved ones that have been affected by this experience of CV-19. My heart goes out. And it even, very much goes out to the first responders and all the heroes and sheroes of healthcare and all the essential folks that have been out there trying to help all of us find some kind of balance, to feel grounded somehow in the midst of this turmoil, in the midst of this storm. So I see this experience truly as a gift. I truly do. To me, it's like a collective dark night of the soul. And we know that, life is not about things aren't going to happen and challenge us. It's about when they do present themselves, are we ready to open up to a knowing deep within us, a knowing that this is being offered for my transformation, for my evolution, for my enlightenment, and for my soul's expansion of consciousness. And in Unity, we refer to consciousness as the Christ consciousness, the Christ light. It's like the kingdom of heaven is within you. And what is that? What is the kingdom of heaven? Is it a place you go to? No. It's consciousness. It's like, think of yourself as a fish in the ocean, and the ocean is all around you, and you are in it. You are part of it. So in every moment when we practice and we strengthen our muscles of stillness, it's not like, again, that we have to go there and find it. It's just we can go, oh, okay. Let all that is not serving me in this moment fall away. Let me surrender to this moment of now, because I've reminded myself, right, that I'm not alone. I am with you always. So we can begin to make a commitment to have a practice that keeps us strong and resilient and prepared. We've learned a lot about preparation in our country here and around the world, and how to be prepared You can't always plan for things. In fact, sometimes we know what happens with the best laid plans, right? And I know a lot of people are reeling from all the plans that had to be canceled, all the plans that are perhaps going to happen, but there's an uncertainty about it. So again, there's a lot going on, and it feels like a storm. It feels like turmoil. You know, I can stand here. I'm not standing. I'm sitting. I can sit here and, you know, rattle off all kinds of words to describe it. But what's so important this morning is to connect with the sensation, your sensory experience in this beautiful sacred temple, this vehicle that you have to travel around on planet Earth in this lifetime. So I wanted to offer a few quotes to you right now and just share some things that I discovered in preparing for this talk. I certainly could have sat here and just talked with you about stillness, but I wanted to offer something a little more practical. And for those of you who, you know, may always be living in your head, that's no one, right? To have something a little more concrete that you can hear and just begin to assimilate what I'm offering you this morning. And that is, as I mentioned earlier, my intention is to have you notice and to be present with everything that is occurring within you, breath by breath, moment by moment, and to know how blessed you are in doing that. So what is stillness? You know, the actual dictionary definition says the quality or state of being still, of course, quietness, silence, calmness. From the Middle English and Old English origins, it is also the absence of noise or disturbance. Release, relaxation, tranquility, and peace. The absence of noise. Even in the midst, just like in the midst of the storm, there is that I, is there not? The center, the calm. So I like to liken the center of us as the I am. So when you think, oh, there's a storm happening right now, and it still feels like the turbulence and the uncomfortable and fearful energy of the storm is happening, you can easily learn to access that space within you where there has never been a storm, where there has only been stillness and the sacred energy of all that is. Even as I'm defining stillness, you know, we all have different experiences because we're all very unique expressions, and no two expressions and experiences are ever going to be alike. Even today, as you are sitting here listening to me, you're all receiving this information, the energy of what I'm transmitting to you right now and offering to you, and you're receiving it through your own receptors, through your filters, through your beliefs, through preconceived notions, all of these things that pass through your mind. And you're receiving it in that way, not just, again, as I said, the mental, logical aspect, but you're receiving it energetically. Yes, you're receiving it energetically. I paused just then because, as I was mentioning about in noise, there's a pause, there's a space. It's like in music, it's the silence between the notes, the stillness, the space. And it really behooves us when we can remember that. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know. And again, whatever word resonates best for you. God, Goddess, Mother, Father, God, Creator, Divine, Buddha, whatever it may be. Just be present with that for yourself. And in this sacred space of stillness, I liken it to our own personal sanctuary. You like that? So when you think of going somewhere to connect with folks like we're not able to do today in community physically, you can always go to that inner sanctuary. I think that is so cool that we can do that anytime we choose. And that's a word I want to emphasize right now, that stillness, a practice, anything that we offer to ourselves, it's because we are intentional with it. And we say in that moment, I am choosing this. I'm choosing stillness today. I'm choosing to be all that I already am. That's a pretty powerful thing to remember. Wow, it's always there for me. Even in the most frightening of moments, even in the most chaotic of moments when perhaps I'm trying to do something and I'm just feeling a little out of control, that perhaps I can learn to have stillness and calm and peace be my default, my divine default, and have that be the place from which I am operating, the place from which I'm experiencing life and myself. It's a place of remembrance. I think of stillness really as a portal. I love that word, portal, because the activity of God, the activity of life, it's movement. We're energy. So when you think of a portal, it's like something's opening up. And when we arrive in stillness and begin to really tap into that energy, it's a portal, and it opens up an opportunity to, travel into this realm of remembrance. And that's essential, you guys. The remembering is essential because we have lost touch with who we are, and most of all, what we are as a culture, as a society, as a country, as a world. So many have lost touch with who we are, what we are, and why we're here, what we are here to do, and more than that, to be. Because that's what happens. We become a human doing. And we don't even realize it because we are on autopilot. So we can actually set our course differently and listen to that inner GPS, a different type of autopilot from the most amazing navigator that's ever been, the all that is. There's a wonderful quote by a Norwegian theologian whose name is Ole Halsby, and it says, "The greatest blessing connected with stillness is that we can hear eternity. We can hear the voice of the Eternal One as it speaks to our conscience." Imagine that, as it speaks to our conscience. So I wanted to share with you also right now some wonderful information, just some juicy stuff. I love Eckhart Tolle, and there's a number of spiritual teachers and folks out there. I'm very selective with who I follow, whether it's somebody currently here or somebody an ascended master. We can talk about Jesus and Buddha and many of those that have walked this earth, and some of the people, the beings that are here now, more of an awakened consciousness. That can offer us insight beyond our human sight. It's that inner sight, that inner knowing that I've been speaking about since I came online with you this morning. I love this by Eckhart. Stillness is the language God speaks, and everything else is a bad translation. That just brings a smile to my face and heart, and even a chuckle, because that is just so perfect. It is divinely spot on. Stillness is the language God speaks, and everything else is a bad translation. And that's what's happening in the world right now. Everything else that's coming at us is, it's what can I say? Eckhart said it clearly. It's a bad translation. And if you want to truly understand more fully, it really is about the language of God, being still, knowing that I am God and I am with you always to guide you through these moments. Stillness is another word for space. Becoming conscious of stillness whenever we encounter it in our lives will connect us with the formless, the timeless dimension within ourselves. We're spiritual beings having this human experience. So it connects us with that's a kingdom of heaven that I was speaking about earlier, that dimension within ourselves, that which is beyond thought, beyond ego, so that we can get outside of the human experience of it and know that we are here to evolve and grow and tap into a higher understanding, a higher awareness, and to look through a different lens, so that when we're looking out there or we're looking at the TV or our phone or whatever it is, we can see it through a different lens. Perception is everything. And as I mentioned earlier, stillness is a portal to presence. And when we access that and we embody it, we learn how to do that, then the perception is very, very different. It's like it shifts it. And I like to say, holy shift, because that's what happens. It's like in that moment, it's like putting on a different pair of glasses, a different lens. And that lens is actually what I like to think of as the lens of love, because that is what connects us to our shared humanity, to the oneness that we all are, that which we connect with in here when we truly see one another, not just with our human eyes, but we see beyond the outer shell, the very essence. So some of those practical things there about stillness that I wanted to share with you that Eckhart mentioned. One other thing he says is, when you are still, you are who you were. I love this. You are who you were. It's really who you've always been before you assumed this physical and mental form called a person. This is all temporary. It's temporary. You are also who you will be when the form dissolves. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. The eternal soul right now expressing in this form. But when we are still, we connect with that and we remember. As I mentioned earlier, it's the remembrance. It's the returning home rather than feeling as though we are wandering aimlessly. It's the prodigal moment of returning home. When you are still, you are who you are beyond your temporal existence. Consciousness, unconditioned, formless, and eternal. I think that is just washes over me. So when you step into the now, you step out of the content of your mind. That's where we get lost, right? We have a thought, and before you know it, it has hooked us, and away we go. And we become unconscious. We fall asleep. We fall asleep. And we're here to awaken to this moment right now, and to the next, and to the next. Because there only is this now moment. There is no space and time when we live from this place rather than the construct of the 3D dimension and the 3D realm, and how we have this linear understanding of time through our human experience. There is so much more than that. It is beyond space and time. That is what we truly are in that expression. The incessant stream of thinking slows down when we step out of the mind. Thoughts don't absorb all of our attention anymore. And they don't draw us in, as I mentioned. They don't hook us. We can observe them as we are still. We can cultivate our observer skills. We can be like the sky, as consciousness as we are. And as the clouds float by, it's as if the thoughts are streaming through our awareness. And we can notice them and say, I am not that unsettling thought. I am not that emotion that follows that unsettling thought. I am so much more than that. I am beyond that. Gaps arise in between the thoughts, the spaciousness, the stillness. That's what I mentioned earlier. The pause between the breath, that still point. In nature, as you hear, if you walked out, we all walked out into the forest behind me right now, and just imagine we were going there and we're walking through these trees. You know, as you look at the mural behind me in this forest, just imagine you are there. And what would you notice? You're in this sensory experience because you're in this physical body. So begin to notice what you might hear. What would be the sounds that would be wafting into your awareness? What might that be? It's more about noticing rather than thinking about what you just heard or noticed. Just leaning into it, being with it. I liken it to, it's an immersion. So you are immersed in the experience of the forest. And then you notice certain smells and fragrances, the earthiness, the leaves, the trees, any flowers that may be there, animals, all of it. The richness of life itself wafting through your olfactory senses. What are you smelling? Just breathe that in. So you're hearing things, you're smelling things, and then just notice the actual sensory experience of your skin, your face, your body as you walk into this forest, into this place. To be very present, perhaps with the temperature, if there's a slight breeze, the gentleness that is there. Perhaps a gust of wind comes through, or something moves across, and you're sensing that. And even as you walk or sit in this forest, to notice the ground beneath your feet. Or perhaps the ground that you're sitting on, or a rock that has drawn you to it. And you're sensing the energy of the Eternal One. You're sensing the energy of life itself, communing with life itself in the stillness, in this moment of now. Can you feel it? Just notice without a commentary. Do your best to just allow any thoughts about it to fall away from you. Even with whatever you're smelling and inhaling, to just let that, it's like letting your breath breathe you, to where you're just allowing, you're opening, you're surrendering, you are immersed and letting go, letting life, letting love, letting God, creation have its way with you as you are one with the forest. Remember, we are spiritual beings, a soul, an essence, having this human experience, and the more in tune and in touch we are with what we are sensing and noticing, and all of it, we empower ourselves to have agency, dominion over our experience. Insofar as whatever is presenting itself, we can learn to flow with it rather than push against it and resist it. We can flow with it. Be still and know, I am one with the flow. I am the flow. The moving in, the moving out. Your breath. Your breath, remember, has been breathing you since the very first moment you took that inspiration, inspirare, and life began expressing magnificently as you, uniquely as you, authentically as you. There is only one divine expression of you, and stillness is your very being. It truly is accessing that kingdom of heaven. So I'm just keeping track of the time here and making sure that we are honoring your time today and your choice to be here. So I want to be very mindful as I co-create this experience with all of you. As I'm saying that, and I commented about the time, and I'm aware, I am so very present with each of you. I can truly feel you here with me. And I truly hope that you can feel me there with you, and that we are having this heart-to-heart soul to soul exchange this morning of this collective immersion in stillness. So that as we complete this experience in a little while, that we can leave this place and know that our energy, it's radiating now from all of us. We are sending that out. That signal is going out and we are broadcasting that. It's a very high frequency. I can tell you that. I can feel it. And I know you can too. And that's what we're here for, guys. Remember what I said earlier. Who am I? What am I? Why am I here? What's it all about? And I am here. We are here to make a profound and beautiful difference in the world. And only the way that each of us can individually. And when all of those points of light come together in that hologram, collectively we are here to raise and expand consciousness, to up-level and upgrade this unique and oh so sacred and holy experience. Breathe that in. Breathe it in. Just breathe it in. It's a quote by Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj. In the stillness of the mind, I saw myself as I am, unbound. Unbound. Because I'm guessing that you've been feeling a little constricted and closed in and as though, you know, you've been held in place because we've been in place. So to know the freedom, to be unbound, that liberation. Oh, I am free. In stillness, I am. I wanted to offer just a couple of things about some practices. We've been doing that this morning. As I said, I wanted this to be more experiential. We've been breathing, and there are many different forms and styles of breathing. Meditation. I'm a meditation teacher and practitioner, and that is one of the most powerful ways for me. That has been, and others that I know, many different forms and styles of meditation. I'm all about encouraging my clients and people to become the meditation so that you're not having to do it. You already are the embodiment of it. And everywhere you go, you are that meditation, that presence. Nature, I referenced that earlier, is another way to cultivate. It's not even cultivating stillness, because if I say cultivate it, feels like we have to make it happen. It's really accessing it and, you know, bringing us more into that present moment. Silence, quiet time, introspection, contemplation, reflection, those things, to be in solitude. You know, solitude's different than being alone. There's more of a grace and a reverence in solitude that I call it a holy moment. It's very sacred. So that's another thing that can something you can try and put in your toolbox. And so all of these things in our human experience, what they can offer us are untold benefits, simply from stress and anxiety reduction. I know earlier I mentioned we can access the parasympathetic system so that we can have the serotonin and the dopamine and oxytocin and those chemicals and hormones floating through us, and be able to still perhaps that inner storm, to walk about the world and be in the, to be able, I'm a little tongue tied here, to be able to be in the world out there, but not of the world, so that we can be about equanimity, compassion, kindness, that we can access that place, we can be that place, that stillness, so that when we do have a situation, or we turn on the TV, or we hear something on social media that just, it wafts into our energy field, and then we feel it in the physical, that in that moment you can catch it right there. You can catch it and go, aha, I'm awake, I'm aware. You become very mindful. Also, as a mindfulness teacher and practitioner, mindfulness to me is one of the most powerful tools that you can put in your toolbox, but you got to use it. Okay? Creativity, productivity, your confidence, your self-esteem, your own self-awareness, as I mentioned earlier, your sense of identity, because you realize that you are not that person. You're having that experience, but that is not who you are, as I mentioned earlier. More courageous, more connected, more resilient. So it becomes a wonderful, amazing thing that we can access and know that in the stillness and in the quiet, I am. I am. So I wanted to offer a few moments of a closing meditation. Typically, I do this at the beginning, but I wanted to bring it to this experience today as a way to complete our time together and have you be able to tap into that energy one more time collectively, for those of you that are here, and for those of you that may see this later, to know that you can do this at any time. And I'm going to bring in some chimes, and this is a Tibetan bowl, Tibetan singing bowl. I know you heard this at the beginning if you had tuned in. So just enjoy these sounds. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know. So I invite you to close your eyes for just a moment or two, and to breathe in this energy that I have been sharing with you, energy that I have been transmitting to you today by the blessings of the universe and all of the energy that is streaming on this live stream from source, flowing through me to you, and you to me. Just breathe it in. Breathe it in. Keep your eyes closed if you feel so inclined for another moment or two. As I breathe in, I'm aware that I'm breathing in. As I breathe out, I'm aware that I'm breathing out. I give thanks for this moment right here and now. This moment of stillness, immersed in presence. I rest in this place. I rest in the remembrance. I rest in the remembrance of all that I am. If you feel like placing your hands over your heart to bring this energy, this moment into your heart space. Just breathe into your heart. And in that place of remembrance, our body begins to find its own unique rhythm with its breath and with heart coherence. The brain of the heart, the brain of the head and mind, the divine feminine energy of the heart, the divine masculine energy of the head. We breathe into that beautiful connection, that synchronization with intuition and insight, discernment. We give thanks for this moment of now, the sacred stillness, the sanctuary within our soul, the sanctuary of our soul. Breathe into your heart intentionally one more time, down into your belly, into your very being. And when you are ready, open your eyes. I thank each and every one of you for joining me here today. To be immersed in stillness with each other, to have been gathering together in the forest, strengthening our faith, our fortitude, the resilience as we remember to be still and know that I am. And I invite you to know that for yourself in every moment, to be fully awake and present, one with presence, the embodiment of all that is. And I wanted to close also with the prayer for protection as Unity of Blairsville, a unity community, to honor that and complete our time together with the prayer of protection, because typically we're all standing in a circle and we have already sung the peace song. And today we can certainly do the prayer for protection in a way that we can know that, as I said earlier, we are never alone. And God is always with us and as us. So for those of you who might still be watching, I see some of you are still there. And those of you who will tune in at a later time, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. All is well. Thank you again so much for being here today. May you know that you are loved beyond measure. May you know always that you are never alone. And may you always remember that you are amazing, awesome, magnificent. And may you always shine your light so that others may recognize their own. And so it is. God bless you all and have a beautiful, beautiful day and glorious week. Namaste.